What did you find hardest about doing the MIT challenging? Because you provide a bit of
Yeah.
context, like coming
Oh
from
yeah,
somewhere
sure.
like Australia. MIT was like something I'd heard maybe in a movie. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right,
so there's
right.
no
Okay.
context about how difficult it was.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So MIT is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's one of probably the best um, like STEM schools in the entire world. Um, it is extraordinarily hard to get into. I think especially when you compare it to other Ivy League schools like Harvard or something like that. I don't believe MIT does legacy admits, and so it's like the more meritocratic maybe of the schools. It has more of a reputation for like, even if you're smart, you can get bad grades. Whereas, Harvard tends to be a little bit softer on that. And so I don't know. I'm not actually an MIT student, so this is just my cultural impression, and just from, the little pitter patter you hear in the online lectures. But the way that this project came about was I had done a business degree in school, somewhat foolhardily thinking, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I should study business. Turns out, no, that's not always the best idea, because business school is mostly training you to be a middle manager in a big corporation. And I only learned that kind of like halfway through, like, oh, this is mostly HR classes and stuff. I was thinking this is like how to run a company. It's like, okay, here's how to set up, standard operating procedures for this. So I was a little disappointed, I guess, maybe after my undergraduate education. And I was thinking, oh, I should have learned computer science, because then I could actually do something. Like, I wouldn't just be like one of those talking head business guys. I'd actually be able to make the thing that I wanted to do. And it was something I'd always wanted to learn. I'd been kind of tossing and turning between the two of them when I was going into school. But I mean, I've already got a degree, going back to school for another 4 years. And then, like, you're a mature student. You're kind of like, I don't want to live in a dorm anymore and do all this kind of stuff. So I had a real ambivalence about it. I wanted to learn it, but I wasn't that keen on the degree process. And it was around that time that I found out that MIT, this kind of like, this school just puts their courses online. Like, you can just take them. Like, they just have, they set up a camera in the class and they just recorded the guy talking, and they're like, here was all the problem sets in the exams the kids did, and like, this is what we were using. And I mean, it varies. Some of the classes are like, this is a PowerPoint slides with no lecture. So I don't want to make like, I don't want to exaggerate here, but a lot of them are like that, especially the early classes, like, the physics class by Walter Lewin. I mean, this is one of the best presented classes I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, this is way better than classes I paid money for to go to in school. And so I think maybe I took it was like an algorithms class. I just watched it randomly, and I was like, man, this is really good. Like why would you need to go to school? You could just watch these things. And, again, stepping back, background, this is, early blogging days, peak Tim Ferriss. This is, and I'm talking about some of my influences, like Josh Kaufman had his personal MBA, which was like a little different. He was more like, making a book list of like, this is what you'd have to learn if you're doing an MBA program. And Benny Lewis was doing his Fluent in 3 months projects. We can talk about that when it comes to language learning, but he was a huge influence for me, not just in terms of language learning methodology, but like, he's out there doing it. He's like, I'm going to learn, Thai in 3 months. And then there's like, here's video from like week 1 or something. I was like, this is super cool. So I thought, well, I'm already a blogger. At that point, my study skills kind of blog was doing okay. I was able to make enough money that I wasn't like, oh, I need a job right away. And I was thinking, you know what, this would be the perfect time to do it. I've got some time. I've just recently graduated. I'm not like deep in some other thing. I've got some money because I'm making a bit of money from the blog. So I'm not like hard up for finances.
okay,
If
sweet.
I'm going
So
to
that
do
was
some
like
big
that was
year-long
your
project.
side part of income. That was your side income. Was
Yeah.
blogging
Well,
and
I
stuff
had been
like that?
writing my blog since high school, so I was making some money just from these like little study skills kind of courses. And obviously, if you're making courses about study skills, like, this is a very relevant kind of thing of like, okay, I want to apply it on something. And taking the courses, like, I'd always been a decent student, and it was something that I thought, well, you know what, if I like pulled out all the stops, like really like, went 100% into the productivity and working hard and doing it, maybe I could do it in a compressed time frame. And this is also some of the like arrogance of being 24, but you're like, yeah, I'm going to try to do this in a year, and I'm going to like declare it publicly that I'm going to do it before I start, which even now I'm not quite sure why I decided that that was like going to be what I did, but that's what I did. And so I did do it. It was a lot of work, and I got lucky in some places. Like, as I said, I've talked about here that, I really, really worked hard like the first 3 or 4 months, but it was kind of like the classes were getting easier as I was getting more burned out. So I was able to like hit the deadline. It could have been the case that the classes were getting harder, in which case I just would have failed. But so there was a little bit of luck there, a little bit of me being overly optimistic, but somehow pulling it off. But I mean, it was a lot of studying. I was, probably studying about, 8 to 10 hours a day, maybe even up to 12 hours in the beginning, and then more like 8 hours near to the end of the project. But it was full time. Like, I was Monday to Friday. I was doing this every day. And it was exciting too, because I mean, first of all, I wasn't paying any tuition, so it wasn't like you didn't have to do that.
That's insane. That's insane that you did that. That's like, you just...
Well, I know the MIT challenge one is the least approachable of all the projects. Like, when I talk to other people about it, they're like, well, I'm not going to do that, or I can't do that. And I'm like, I know you're not. Like, it was a kind of like, even I can't do it right now. I've got 2 kids at home. There's no way I'm doing it. But I think, like, if you want to just step back and extract the lesson from it, the idea that you can learn, from the best school in the world, the kind of a quite job ready skill, which is programming, computer science. This is not just like art history or something that's just for your edification. Like, you can get jobs with this. The fact that you can learn these skills just free online is just incredible. And I think it's something that is not taken advantage enough by most people. But anyways, that was the project there.